Hey everybody, welcome to etrailer.com. I'm Bobby. Today we're taking a look at the Yakima JLo Kayak Carrier up here today on our 2021 Volkswagen Tiguan. Now guys, it's going to be a very decent way of going ahead and giving yourself a way to carry either one or even two kayaks to wherever your destination might be taking you. What's awesome about this guy, of course, you do have your J-style kayak carrier here today. Now those J-styles are going to give you that little advantage of just getting them up on your roof. And one thing that's great about them, they don't take up a lot of room. If you start comparing them to some of your more saddle style, that really starts taking up a lot of room because your kayak is kind of laying down more. So you guys can see we're getting up in that J position. That's going to leave you a ton of room on the other side of your vehicle. That's going to be great for a lot of different accessories. Something like the Yakima SkinnyWarrior is going to be great because it's going to leave you a little bit of room still on there. But even, as you guys can see, I mean, we have plenty of space here today for ourselves. Now that is because we are kind of set off here to the side. So not all the times are you going to find yourself putting the JLo here on the outside, and we'll kind of break that down later as we are talking about the installation. But I will say we have somewhat longer crossbars here today than maybe somebody at home might have. So we've gone ahead and throw this to the outside here of our tower. So we are getting a ton of space in the Tiguan. You might find yourself a little bit more shifted on the inside if you have a shorter crossbar length for yourself. What's awesome about these guys though, like we said, you can carry up to 2 kayaks with them. So your single kayak capability is going to be about 80 pounds or so, and then when you keep it up in that straight position, allowing yourself for the second kayak, you're looking at about 110 pounds overall split between your 2 kayaks. So the one thing to look out for though, of course, is to make sure you're not exceeding your roof's weight capacity. So make sure you are checking with your vehicle's owner's manual guide that you're not exceeding that. And on top of that, make sure you also are checking your crossbar and your roof rack weight system as well. Here today on the Yakima Jetstream that we're on, we have about 165 pounds capacity limit. Now that's gonna be pretty standard for a lot of your crossbar spreads out there, but do make sure you are checking that. That way we don't be damaging any of the items or our vehicle, of course, for ourselves. Well, one thing that's cool about it too, you do have these nice little load assist options right here. Load assist only being just a little pad. I can go ahead, kind of set it on and get it over. That actually makes it a little easier. You guys can see I am 6'1", so a little easier for me to take these kayaks off, of course, than maybe some everybody else out there. However, I do like that I have that pad. It allows me to kind of shift it over. And that's where I'm kind of saying your longer crossbars are kind of a good and bad thing. One thing that's bad about it, of course, is you kind of have to get your kayak up and over it. The good thing is it is going to be right here for ourselves. That's kind of getting me away from my vehicle, and I'm going to be less inclined to touch and damage my vehicle getting my kayak up on there. And one thing that can be nice about this too, guys, the JLo is definitely pretty awesome here, but if you find yourself struggling to get your kayak up on top of here, there's actually a lot of options out there with some lift assist one. Big one for me is going to be the Yakima Showdown. That's going to give you an awesome little lift assist option. Just simply brings your arms out, folds out, and that way you can actually load your kayak up from the side. So that can be a nice option for ourselves. We also are going to get these straps though included with it, which becomes great. As you guys can see, these guys do a great job of holding this onto our carrier. Not only in the middle though, we do get our bow and stern straps. Nothing too crazy here. Just going to go ahead and make sure that we're not going to have any tilting of our kayak. And that's definitely going to be important. You might see these guys going down the road without them. It always scares me, and I always try to get out of the way because you never know when a gust of wind is really going to rip your kayak up, taking that bow over the back, and that could be a real pain. Now hopefully you've properly tightened these down, but that just puts a lot of stress, a lot of force on your carrier that you don't really need to do. So make sure you guys are tying those down, and we're going to go ahead and break those down here just in a little bit. So let's go ahead and start taking a look at how all of our straps are holding onto our kayak. We just have a little cam buckle set up here. Now, of course, hopefully you guys have a nice little tie down point on your kayak at home. It's always pretty easy to add, of course. And you do get this little cam buckle strap here, just a simple loop we run to ourselves, and then our cam buckle is going to hang here. And then our extra strap length is going to be coming from our hood here, guys. You guys can see it is going to be attached to this little S hook here. This is going to give you a nice little attachment point. Of course, you are going to need a metal contact here today. Definitely avoid trying to put this in plastic or where it might impact the inside of your engine bay, of course. And to that, the S-hooks are nice, you know, they are a solid piece of contact. You know, when you actually get them in, they're going to do a good job of holding on there. We've been using them for years, right? However, sometimes they're kind of a pain to do. You know, you are limited on where you can put them. And yeah, it's just kind of a pain. to kind of get in set. And then also you do have metal rattling around in here. So if you're looking for a little bit of a better way, there are multiple, what they're called foam anchors, commonly referred to as dog bones. Now those can be found in like the etrailer kayak bow and stern strap down kit. That can be a nice little way of just giving you a temporary mounting place anywhere inside your vehicle. So it becomes great for the hood of your vehicle and even in the back of your hatch. Is all you got to do, place them in there. And then we're not worried about solid points of contact. We're going to create that ourselves by simply having our hood anchor in there, which can be great. So that's a nice little option. However, I am actually a pretty big fan of these straps. I think they work decently well. Now you can always go ahead and go for that upgrade, of course. You can always keep going, but these guys are going to do a great job for you. And I like the plastic here too. Really make sure that you're not going to be fraying this as it's sitting in here when your hood comes down on it. So it will do a very good job of holding onto your kayak. One nice advantage that I think the J-Style offers over some like the saddle styles and some of the other kayak carriers out there, you can see that your stern usually has a pretty nice incline or an angle to it, which allows you to kind of go ahead and get up out of your way, allowing your hatch to kind of fold up here. So even if we did have our crossbar set a little bit more back, you guys can see we have ample room to go ahead and actually get this hatch open all the way. Now, like I said, those saddle styles, you might see this little keel right here being right here making contact. So I do like that on the J-Style of they getting our kayak up out of the way. That way we have full access to our cargo. Well, now that we've got our bow and our stern straps off, we can go ahead and start looking at how our main components here are holding our kayak on. So taking a look, you can see we have these two straps here today. Now these guys do a very decent job of making sure that we're having constant contact on our kayak, pushing it into our carrier, making sure we have a nice secure fit. Taking a look, I do want to take note of how we have this set up. So this is going to be one end of our strap here with our cam buckle system. One nice thing too, you can see it is going to be rubber coated here today. That becomes great because we're not going to be damaging our kayaks here, of course, especially if you got fiberglass or anything like that. Don't want to be damaging it. So nice that we don't have that metal contact. That rubber is going to do a great job kind of keeping that from causing us any issues. And one thing that might happen too, guys, accidents always happen. You never know when your straps might fall off on your dismount or while you're mounting it. And it's going to be nice that we're not going to have a metal cam buckle falling on the roof, potentially damaging it. And that rubber coat is going to do a great job of hopefully softening that blow for ourselves, which is great. So just offers you a little bit of advantage, and of course does a somewhat decent job of protecting that cam buckle, the metal itself, from a little corrosion. Now, one thing I will say though, I definitely would probably watch this. If you find yourself keeping this on in a lot of rain and stuff, you might see a little bit of buildup on that guy just because that rubber is just on top of that metal. It's something I would probably just try to make sure I'm drying every time I take my kayak off. But we can go ahead and actually pop this guy off here for ourselves today. One thing that kind of stinks about this guy, you do have a lot of extra strap length. A ponytail holder, a hair tie, something like that can be great at holding this on. However, the eTrailer bow and stern kit, that whole kayak carrier kit actually comes with some very nice straps. If you guys are looking for a small little upgrade, however, I think these guys do a great job, and I do like how thick they are. They're not gonna be fraying anytime soon, and you know they're gonna be lasting you for a while. But all I gotta do is simply push right here on that lever system. That's gonna go ahead and allow me to get this strap out of here today. And I do want to take note of how we have this set. So we already kind of went over our cam buckle system, and here's the other end of our strap. So on the other side, what's happening is we are going around our back post there, coming back up and around. So both of our straps come back this way. That way we have all of our pressure pushing our kayak into our carrier. We don't want this bouncing out, of course. So therefore, it's gonna be nice and tight and secure for our JLo here today. But then we simply take our strap underneath our tower system here, underneath our crossbars. That's gonna be great, allowing ourselves to take a lot of that pressure off of our carrier itself and our hold, and putting it also on our roof rack system. Now you can go ahead and put in your raised rails if it's something you want to do as well. Now you don't have to, but it can be a nice extra little step just to go ahead and make sure you're secured. And with that, of course, utilizing your towers so that it doesn't shift around can be nice. But all we got to do now, guys, is simply grab our one end here and start pulling to ourselves to go ahead and dismount it. Now with all of our straps removed, we can go ahead and actually remove our kayak. So to do so, what I like to do, guys, is start taking into account our J-style carrier here. So you can kind of see we have this little well, or this little corner here, that actually has some open space. So shifting the side of your kayak into there, that's gonna go ahead and allow this to pivot, you guys are gonna see, and turn. I can go ahead and kind of support the top here. Now this is definitely where me being 6'1" definitely comes and helpful here. If you were shorter, you probably find yourself trying to catch it here, trying to bring it down. One thing you can do too, grab the side of your kayak becomes great. Just utilizing the edges of the cockpit here can be great to go ahead and get it where you want to. But really what we're going for here, guys, is trying to get that weight above us. Now this isn't too heavy on me, as most of the weight is being kept on our carrier here. Now of course it's gonna rotate, so let's be careful. But all we gotta do, get underneath here, make sure we're properly underneath it, and then we can walk it right off, guys. Well guys, now that we have our kayak off, we can go ahead, hop up, and start taking a look at the carrier itself. So the JLo does give you a nice little kind of carrier for it. The rubber itself is kind of consistent throughout the entirety of it. So you can see these little foam handles at the top here. Nice and rubberized at the front too. So it is going to be that marine foam. So we're not going to have liquids kind of penetrating here. As you guys can see, it's not a porous material, which is great, especially if you do have your kayaks, you know, they're a little wet still from the lake or the river, wherever it might be. We're not gonna be getting mold or anything kind of building up on these. It's gonna be very easy to maintain and clean for ourselves. And at the bottom here too, the rubber does a great job of just making sure that we're not rubbing against this hard plastic, causing us any kind of issues on our kayak, of course, because that's a big thing, right? We wanna keep our kayak looking good. That's why we have this carrier. We're just not throwing it in the back of a truck somewhere, which is gonna be great. So the J style, of course, allows you to get this position here, which becomes great for carrying most of your kayaks. However, we can quickly go ahead and start utilizing our lever here. All we gotta do is simply pop it out. Don't know why it was giving me so much resistance there. And as you guys can see, you can't really go much more further back than this. Your J-style positioning can be perfect for right there. And you guys can actually get it right up into this position. That becomes great for carrying your two kayaks, as you said. So you get this one right here. And you also have this base over here for the second one. Now this guy, just hard plastic, not gonna be as great of a carrier. And one thing I could say, maybe a towel or something on your crossbar can be great. Some kind of like pool noodle cut up can be as well good, because then you can just go ahead, make sure you're not rubbing against your crossbars, causing any damage to either your kayak or your crossbar system. Now talking about the kind of height we are dealing with too though, we can go ahead and see at this max position here how much height we're adding today onto our crossbar. So for us here today, it looks like it's gonna be putting us about right at 19 inches, a little bit underneath it, about 18 7/8 there for ourselves, guys. But that is gonna be added to your crossbar system, so keep in mind, yours might be a little different at home. So just keep that in mind when you guys are going ahead and trying to get this guy mounted on there. We can actually bring this guy down all the way too, which becomes great, because all we gotta do, simply condense it like that. That's gonna reduce our max height, of course, to near about, I'd say about 4 inches there, guys, at that max height to the top here of our ridge, but maybe about 4 1/4 there to the very top. I think in this position though, we're gonna have no trouble getting this in the garage, and definitely gonna have no trouble getting through the drive-throughs, of course, wherever we might be. And one thing that I really like about the Yakima, you might find yourself actually utilizing this a lot more than you might from some other J-style carriers. The reason for that, guys, is you actually do have a locking core here on the JLo itself. So you can go ahead and make sure that this stays attached to our carrier when we leave it unattended. That's gonna prevent us from actually turning these knobs. And as you guys can see, that's actually what tightens in our side clamps here. So these guys are also awesome because they're gonna allow us to clamp onto any crossbar system we might have. Now the only thing to look out for is maybe your really, really thick crossbar systems. Maybe some of those HD bars might have a slight issue. However, I think most of us are gonna have a very decent time of clamping on here. Personally, I highly recommend, if you're still looking for crossbars and you're trying to match this carrier or something, an arrow bar just seems to be it looks really good, B, it works really good. It's kind of the top of the line right now in the kind of terms of where the industry's going. And secondly, it just kind of clamps on better. You guys can see how that format was a little bit more set up for your arrow style bars. However, again, it is specifically designed to mount to almost any crossbar out there. So I don't think we're gonna have any trouble at all. And one last little thing about that locking core, one thing that's awesome about it, you can actually get that key to like to a lot of different Yakima accessories utilizing Yakima's same key system. So you can go ahead and get a locking core set for both of these guys, making sure you only have one key for all of your kayak carriers. And we can actually go ahead and do that for our Timberline towers here today, since we are utilizing a Yakima roof rack system. And that way you can go ahead and get those all key to like. If you're like me, a little forgetful, it'll be nice to have that spare, and a couple spares to boot, I should say. And that way we have no trouble, of course, getting all of our accessories locked down. And that way they're always there when we leave them unattended. Well, as you guys saw, the installation on that becomes really, really simple. All you have to do is simply tighten that in there. Holds on very, very well for the carrier, and it has a lot of features and capabilities. That's why the JLo is definitely one of our more premium J styles out there. You're just getting everything you really want from it, you know? The only other thing you would probably want is like a real load assist option. Nice that we have these little pads here, of course, to get our kayak up on there, shift it up into position. But at that point, you're looking at way more expensive options, of course, like the Yakima Showdown, like the Thule Elevator. However, there is another J style out there that does have a load assist option, and that would be the Malone downloader with the Telos load assist system. Personally, if you're looking at load assist, that's definitely going to be your kind of bare bones style. Not going to be as easy and not as intuitive, and there's a lot more moving pieces. So personally, if you're going for the load assist items, go ahead and do yourself that favor. Get the more convenient options if that's what you're looking for. However, for J-Style, the JLo is very hard to beat. It kind of outclasses everything out there, in my opinion. You're just getting all those features that you want and more with it. And personally, that locking core is a huge thing for me. It's nice that we can go ahead and bring our arms down and really condense this and the height that we're adding to our vehicle. However, if we don't have a way of securing that, then it's kind of null, because most of the time you're just going to be taking off your carrier anyways because you're too worried about it leaving your vehicle unattended. This way we can go ahead, actually fold them down, and no matter where we're at, we know that they'll be right there waiting for us when we go to load up our kayak. Well guys, I think that about does it for our look at the Yakima JLo J-Style Kayak Carrier here today on our 2021 Volkswagen Tiguan. I'm Bobby. Thank you for watching.